live. You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the Pilgrims were good at Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody.
You keep your piece on you?
It's in the car.
What you rocking?
I got different ones, man. I got 9, 8, 45. Oh, come on now. Now my Spotify ain't playing. What's going on? Okay, let me close and open it back up and see what happens. Ain't that some mess? There it is.
Thank you, Jesus.
You got it. See, I was saying go to this one. It plays the input better. Right now, you only have half a signal. See it over there?
Would that still be in here?
Yep, even though it was there. So go bring this back up so you have something on the air. That ended? No. Yep.
I don't hear it.
Oh, input two, that's why.
Because you made your ass cross.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesus. Put your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar.
Okay.
All right, so now you got 1 and 2, so you're good.
There we go.
Yeah, so this is the, just remember, so now this is the PC and this is input 2.
Gotcha.
If you want to go to plug into input 1, just make sure to go from PC to input 1.
Got it.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, man, it's crazy out there. I know you face a lot of challenges, bro. But you know, being at the department, I'm facing challenges all the time, man. Because these cats, you know, these knuckleheaded youngsters, bro. I mean,
Yep.
at least 50%, and that's an understatement. But at least 50% are in there right now, have gun charges, have assault charges.
Yeah.
You know?
Crazy.
What's that?
I said that's crazy.
Oh yeah. I was working one pod, and at least 10 of them in there are murder charges.
You might try to stop me from getting it, but if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got to have.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is 4 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Barnett for bringing us up until the 9 o'clock hour with the promise. You can hear the promise every Monday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., bringing you the best in gospel music, a good way to start out your Monday morning, a great way to start out your week. And what an interesting week it has been. Tell a friend, tell somebody the bishop is on the air right now. And we get ready to have a conversation. We're going to be talking about white supremacy apologists. Why do we have to deal with our brothers and sisters who have made a conscious decision that they're going to excuse away white supremacy and anti-black racism? We got a lot of them out there. Y'all got some of them in y'all families. Yeah, you know you do. You know you do. You know you do. It's your uncle, your auntie, whoever it is. We all got an Uncle Ruckus or two rolling around in the fam. And how we going to deal with them? What is we going to do? I know that's bad English, but that's good preaching. 413-736-2781, 413-736-2781 is the number here. If you want to chime in on the conversation, definitely want to hear what you have to say. Tell a friend, tell somebody. Bishop is on the air right now, and we get ready to get it crunk up in here. You know what I'm saying? We as a black family, we're going to have to band together. We're going to have to deal with folk in our own community, because the bottom line is this, brothers and sisters: while we're trying to appeal to the better angels, if there are any, in white folks, to change their ways, we got to remember we got some folk in our own community whose ways need to be changed, okay? Because they're selling us out left and right and left. So listen, let's talk about it. All right, we're gonna come right back. Don't y'all go nowhere. Don't nobody go nowhere. All right, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where in the world you are chiming in from. I want to acknowledge where you're coming in from. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Being in the road will be the end of the road if you refuse to change. Get you a little higher, get you a little higher, dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Come on, come on, come on. Get you a little higher, come on, yeah. Dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, go a little further, go a little further. Come on, don't stop. The essence of life is growth. But the essence of growth is change. The being in the road will be the end of the road if you refuse to change. Your life will never change until you get disgusted with where you are. Whatever you don't hate is what you tolerate. You must learn from the past, plan for the future, and live for today. For it is your daily routine that determines your success or failure in life. It's the choices that you have made up until this point that will determine the rest of your life. So break the cycle that doing enough is simply good enough. You only get out what you put in, so don't settle for the crumbs when you can have a whole loaf. So push yourself beyond your limitations. Come on. Reach a little higher. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Don't stop. Don't stop. Come on. Reach a little higher. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Go a little further. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. So you gotta break the routine of trying to beat the system. Manipulators will always try to bypass the process for the quick progress. There are no shortcuts to success. There are no elevators to the top. You gotta take it one step at a time. You gotta break the routine of allowing others to get into your head and control who you are and where you're going. You see, when you're about the positive, you're gonna always have haters. But don't let your haters push you down. Let your haters push you forward to the next level. So when people show you who they really are, don't perceive them to be something else that they're not. You see, a zebra does not change his stripes. So you got to keep pushing yourself to the next level. Yeah, there you go. Come on. Dig a little deeper. Come on. Yeah. Go a little further. Go a little further. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Get a little higher. Get a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further.
essence of nature that you were born out of. You'll never discover your greatness without hard work and dedication. Greatness says more about who you are and what you expect for yourself. Greatness will always attract greatness. Show me your friends and I'll show you the future. You're just a step away. You're just a step away. You're just a step away. Don't ever give up. Come on. You're just a step away. You're almost there. Come on. You gotta push yourself beyond your limitations. You see, there's no mountain too high, no valley too low. You can go where you want to go. It's all in the power of your imagination. You can see the invisible. You can do the impossible. So stretch yourself. Take yourself to the next level. Come on, come on, come on. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Reach a little higher. Dig a little deeper. Go a little further. Don't stop, don't stop. Come on. Come on. Come on. Blessings are coming your way. Go a little further. Don't stop. Don't stop until you get your dream. Don't stop. Get your dream. Until you get your dream. Come on. Don't stop until you get your dream. Don't stop. Get your dream. Come on. Yeah. Don't stop. Come on. Come on. Come on. Go for the gold. Come on. You gotta go for the darkness. You gotta go for the gold. Don't stop. Don't stop. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Don't stop. Don't stop. Yeah. What you making it here, you gonna make it a month. What you make it a month, you gonna make it a week. What you make it a week, you gonna make it a day.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from and hit, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. I was above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, He came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. Do me a favor, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know exactly where you are chiming in from. Good morning to everybody in the Pioneer Valley who is listening here for our 4,000 watts throughout Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, anywhere in the Pioneer Valley. Good morning to you. Good morning to our audience on the World Wide Web, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, in our Twitter spaces. Twitter's playing games with me. They erased the title of today's show because I guess I had word coon in it. But I'm talking about white supremacy apologists. What are we going to do about folk in our own community that continue to sell us out? And there are plenty of them out there. So, there's social media is always trying one way or another to basically censor what we have to say. They want to control the narrative. And so if you're a little bit too forthright, offensive, all of that kind of stuff, then, they'll play games with you. I'm used to Facebook doing that. I was talking to Kenneth Barnett, the host who comes on before me, about how, I get on Facebook and they'll just shut my stream off right in the middle of the stream for no reason. I guess somebody's like monitoring when I get on the air, and then they decide, you know what, we're just gonna shut them down, shut them down like Public Enemy. Just shut them down. And so, I guess Twitter's now doing the same thing. So I guess I'm used to it. And if you ever speak truth to power, you got to get used to it as well. 413-736-2781. 413. Let me make sure for those of you who are watching, we can get that number up for you to call in. 413-736-27. I had to change that because I was so used to broadcasting from the man cave for the last 2.5 years. And so it was difficult trying to remember to give you the right telephone number to the station. So I think I got it now. 413-736-2781 is the number here. Those of you that are in the Twitter space, of course, you can just put your requests in and we can get you up on the air. Definitely, if you want to chime in on the conversation. Herschel Walker, I believe it's today. Somebody tell me, is today the special election? I believe it's today. Odd that it would be on a Monday, but I believe it's today. Somebody confirm with me whether today or tomorrow is the special election. I think it is today. Somebody confirm that with me. Is it today or is it tomorrow? Is it Tuesday or is it today? Somebody help me. The Georgia special election. I would think that it would be tomorrow because it's normally on a Tuesday. When somebody told me it was today, that sounded kind of strange to me. Okay, you guys are telling me it's Tuesday. It's tomorrow. Okay, thank you for confirming that. Good morning, caller. All right, let's see. We get you on. All right, caller, I'm trying to get you in there. I don't stop hanging up the phone. 413-736-2781 is the number here. So most of you all are telling me it is tomorrow. So I'm going to go with tomorrow. But Herschel said, thank you, Margie. It's tomorrow. Herschel said he doesn't mind being called a coon. He embraces being a coon because a coon is a smart animal. I could do so much with that, but I ain't gonna bother with it. A whole lot of folk don't mind being coons because Tariq Nasheed made a spoof on a song. Said the coon train is coming. Um, a whole lot of people riding on it too, boy. I'm telling you, whole lot of people. Thank you, all of you all who are telling me it is tomorrow. Springdale, Maryland is in the house. Who else we got in here? Greensboro, North Carolina. I can't pronounce Gary, your city in New Jersey. Pensauken, I guess that's what it is. Pensauken, H-Town is in the building. Birmingham, Alabama is up in the house. Chicago's in the house. New York City is in the house. Connecticut is in the house. Massachusetts is in the hizzy. Rep your city, rep your town. Let me see. Instagram, stand up, stand up, stand up. Let me know where you're coming in from, Graham. What part of the world, and while you're on the gram, you can also buy a badge. You can do that. You can do that. What part of the world are you coming in from on the gram? I see where you're coming in from on Facebook, on YouTube. Emmett told me to be nice. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Gaithersburg, Maryland is in the house. North Carolina is in the building. Yeah. So, yeah, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're coming in from. We'll acknowledge it. But listen. Proudly, the job of proudly spewing hate while simultaneously terrorizing Black communities. That's what white supremacists enjoy doing. That's what they do. It's what they enjoy doing. And it's difficult to imagine somebody who could be worse than that. Alexandria, Virginia, good morning. But let me tell you who's worse than that, or who's more dangerous than that for the Black community. Okay? And that is the white supremacy apologist. All right? Yeah, that's the one who capes for, stands up for, defends, gives cover for, and collaborates with white supremacy to the detriment of their own community. They're almost a white supremacist by default, even though they're not white. So you don't have to be white to help perpetuate white supremacy. Understand that. You don't have to be. Somebody type that in the comments. I need y'all to understand. You don't have to be white to perpetuate and collaborate and advance the cause of white supremacy. Bottom line. The apologist basically offers excuses, justifications for white supremacy under the pretense that, their actions are some kind of misunderstanding. Or maybe y'all are just being hypersensitive. You don't know if they had good intentions or bad intentions. Basically, the apologist gaslights the victims. And their goal is basically to minimize the impact of racial trauma. Make light of it. That's why, folks told me I was kind of harsh on Stephen A. Smith when he went defending and caping for Jerry Jones. Well, basically, Stephen A. was being a racism apologist. He was putting on his Superman cape and flying to the rescue of a billionaire 80-year-old white racist, like he really needed him to do that. Um, um, Pretending that we were being hypersensitive. You don't know. He was just standing there. That was 60 years ago. Gaslighting us, trying to minimize the effect of racial trauma. And they, in essence, practice violence through silence or through their defense and their refusal to use their platform to speak out against racial aggressions. It is a known fact, or it should be known and acknowledged, that white supremacy is embedded into the genetic makeup of America. All right. The system of white supremacy was brought to the Americas by European, and I hate calling them colonists. I hate calling them settlers because they weren't settlers. They weren't pilgrims. They were colonizers. So colonists is the better term, or invaders. I prefer colonists or invaders. So the European invaders brought the system of white supremacy to the Americas, and it took root. U.S. society was built on it through genocide, through enslavement, through internal colonization of indigenous populations, the enslavement of Africans and their descendants. And the white supremacy apologists will defend and protect white supremacy under the guise that it's patriotic to do so, that somehow if you are critical of America, or if you just basically tell the truth about the racist history of America, that you are unpatriotic. And so that's why you had these black sycophantic bootlickers that were coming so hard against Colin Kaepernick and those who chose to take a knee, because they wanted to gaslight you and pretend that somehow you were disrespecting the flag and you were disrespecting those who served our country, disrespecting America, and not being patriotic. Now let's just be clear. First of all, I don't want to hear nothing about disrespecting the flag. And I definitely don't want to hear about the Star Spangled Banner. And see, people, when they think about the Star Spangled Banner, they only think about the first stanza. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed was the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars, yada, yada, yada. Francis Scott Key, first of all, was a racist, and he was a slaveholder, the one who wrote the Star Spangled Banner. He had no love for black people. And if you check the lyrics to the whole song, when you get down to the third stanza of the national anthem that you all think kneeling was disrespecting, it said, where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country, should leave us no more? Check this out. Then it said, their blood has washed out their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. In other words, the enslaved Africans who chose to fight against their oppressors Francis Scott Key was saying, all right, that we're going to wash their foul footsteps pollution in their own blood, and that no refuge can save the hireling or the slave. Those are lyrics in the national anthem. And the caucasity of folk to think black people are supposed to stand up and put their hand on their heart and sing a song that boasts about murdering our ancestors. Who else in the world would you ask to do that? Who else would you ask to do that? Who in their right mind would stand up, put their hand on their heart, and in a dedicated manner, patriotic manner, sing a song that literally boasts about murdering your ancestors? That's what this flag represents. That's what the national anthem represents. So this whole notion, and even in that, them kneeling was not about the flag and wasn't about the national anthem. It was about protesting injustice. But the gaslighting goes on. So you had all kinds of people, Shaquille O'Neal and others, who were critical of Colin Kaepernick and others for having the nerve to kneel. Yeah, Shaq and them. Apologizing, making excuses for white supremacy. Making excuses for white supremacy. Apologists. What you gonna do? How we gonna handle that? What do we say? What do we say about it? I mean, that's the question, ladies and gentlemen. That is the question. Common phrases that we hear from the apologists. They didn't mean anything by it. You know, they call you an N-word, they say something racist, they make excuses. They didn't mean anything by it. Or you're being too sensitive. You're just being too sensitive. Or they'll diagnose the white supremacists with some kind of mental health disorder. And we've seen that time and time again. Even the criminal injustice system will use mental health disorder to acquit perpetrators in cases of race-based hate crimes. It's complicity, accompanied by silence. And so that's the reason the degradation of black people has continued over centuries. When our own people stay silent, they're encouraging racist acts of violence. They when they make excuses for it, they're giving cover to it. That's why they love the apologists, because the apologist makes them feel justified in their subjugation of our people. And that's who they point to. You know, they point directly to them. Yeah, look at. You know how many times somebody has told me to look at Thomas Sowell. Look at Thomas Sowell. You need to be more like him. Look at this one. Look at that one. Look at the other one. Always trying to get us to be more like the ones that give them cover or apologize for them. It's sickening. And that's really, you know, it's not that I was surprised when Herschel basically bragged about being a coon. It's not that I was surprised that he embraced it. Not at all. Not at all. Wasn't surprised at all. But more and more people are making excuses for it. Stephen A. Smith did a whole podcast. He did a whole podcast making excuses for being a coon. I don't know if those of you in the Twitter space are trying to get in or not. For some reason, Twitter has me where I can only see one of my listeners. So I don't know if I'm even able to see your requests. Hopefully I will be able to see if you put the request in, but I'm not sure. It seems like they're playing games as well, like Facebook normally does. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens, whether or not I can actually be able to see my listeners in the space. Boy, I'm telling you, man, I don't know. I don't know why they're playing with me, but for some reason they are. Yeah, it looks like they shut that space off too. So I guess I can't talk about black sellouts. I can't do that on Twitter for whatever reason. We're going to try to get you back on there again. Just stay with us. 413-736-2781. For those of you who want to chime in on the conversation in this over the telephone lines. Come right on. We're going to try to get our space popping again. In the meantime, let me play. Since I'm talking about sellouts, this is a good time to play response to the sellout. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. All right. What technical difficulties are really I guess this is the day for it. This is the day for technical difficulties. We're going to try to get that popping once again. 413-736-2781. For those of you who are in the Pioneer Valley, trying to get let me see if we can make this happen again. Oh boy. First time back in the studio on my Monday show. I was in the studio on Friday, but this is the first time I've been back in for the Monday show, and so we got to get used to it again. We've been literally broadcasting from the man cave for 2.5 years, and so we're back in here for the first time, and got to get back acclimated to everything, and get my laptop and all of that kind of stuff back in the system, right? And we're gonna get it together, y'all. Yeah, we're gonna get it together. Y'all not gonna stop, can't stop, won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop, all of that kind of stuff. So let me see if I can get this song popping. There we go. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere.
You say you sold out because black women are loud and crass. What? And your precious white woman is the epitome of class? Are you so blind that you cannot see? That pale girl child ain't got nothing on me. For hundreds of years we have stood by your side, accepted your flaws and allowed you your pride, bore your children and cleaned up your mess, satisfied your lust and always settled for less. We have stayed in the background and allowed you to lead, trusting in your strength and ability to succeed, never getting the praise and credit we deserve, but having the courage, the will, and the nerve, for being the backbone that has kept it together for you and our children in all kinds of weather. And now suddenly you say we're not good enough for you. We forced you to sell out because of the things we did. Well, where was that white woman when that white man you hate was cracking the whip? In the boardroom, the warehouse, and on the slave ship. She stood by his side and didn't say a word, waiting for her own chance to rule and be heard. And now it's her you turn to and treat like a queen, and me and my sisters you choose to demean. Well, hold up, wait a minute, and stop the damn bus. Stop. Because there are a few things I need to remind you about us. Listen up. A more beautiful creature God never made than an African woman, no matter her shade. High, yellow, red bone, or cocoa brown, we are more than worthy of wearing a crown. Ebony, mocha, or black as the night. It is we who have always shared in your plight. We are passionate, spiritual, loving, and kind. A more generous heart you'll never find than the one that beats inside the body of a Nubian queen, the hardest working, loving, giving woman you've ever seen. For we give and forgive until there's little left. Then we're forced to put up our guard to avoid your theft. The theft of our hearts and our trust, the very nature of our soul, by our so-called brothers who are just playing a role. And you wonder why some of us act as we do? Take a look in the mirror, because the answer is you. It's not enough that the white man has always tried to keep us down, but our own men act as though they'd love to see us drown. And white women have never invited us to join their equal rights struggle. So we're out here alone with the million things we juggle, raising the children that black men leave behind, and dealing with the racism of the daily corporate grind. Damn, it's no wonder some of us are loud. Hell, we're just trying to be heard. In a world where everyone, including our men, ignore our every word. Where are the brothers who understand a black woman's worth? Right here, who will protect and stand by us, for we are the salt of this earth. We birthed you, raised you, and showered you with love. It was we who taught you to love your creator above. We gave you all we had and taught you to be men. Open your eyes, it is us, your black sisters, not Boderek's kind who rate a perfect 10. And one final word for the sellout who claim to be brothers. When you turn your back on us, you disrespect your mothers. Did you hear that?
Did you hear that? (413-736-2781). That's Rhonda Swan response to the sellout. Talking to y'all today. Most people think of the apologist as a Klan member, somebody who's displaying a Confederate flag and people like that, but it doesn't have to be that person. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. Listen to you this morning.
Uh-huh.
I want to listen to you and focus on this. There's nothing much about our history in those books. In that American history, nothing. And most of the blacks that go against grain, they're housemakers. And the other ones that do it are the filmmakers. And they know what we went through, where we came from. Why act up? Why act like, oh boy, they're on their knees? Oh boy, it's the no. Go on and do what you do. Don't worry about them, because it's always going to be, I'm sorry to say this, house niggas and field niggas.
Okay, Malcolm.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. And what needs to happen is the kids need to be taught in school about our lives, the Hispanics' lives, because there's African Americans mixed with them.
So let me ask you a question. What do we do as a community about these house N-words? What do we do about those who continually sell out our community?
Ignore them and teach the right history. It's not in the kids' school. They don't know anything. I used to teach all that history. Kids said, Miss, we're not taught this. How come we don't know this? How come our parents don't tell us about this? And so I would try, and they enjoyed it. It's not being done. Ignore those other people.
All right. Appreciate your call. 413-736-2781. Want to remind you this Thursday, those of you in the 413, this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts, there will be an ARPA small business workshop. If you have a small business, want to start a business, are part of a nonprofit, and you want to know how to access ARPA funds, come by the Spring of Hope Church, 35 Alden Street, at 6 p.m. on this Thursday. All of the information that you need will be there. House N-words, field N-words. What do we do about it? Yes, because the apologist is not always carrying a Confederate flag. Sometimes they look just like us, and then there are those others that y'all call allies, and I'm gonna talk about them in a minute. Let me get Tiffany up here in the Twitter space. Tiffany, you got the microphone.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Real quick, I don't agree that we should ignore them. I think that we should align them with white oppressors and take them down accordingly. But I think that house N-words don't realize that they are one of the biggest pieces of evidence that we are oppressed as a people so heavily. And that oppression is so heavy. When pressure is applied to people, it can reveal their true character. Now, if this were during slavery, people like Stephen A. Smith, Jason Whitlock, they would be in the house, away from us in the fields. And if a rebellion was to be, discussed in the fields, of course, we would approach Jason and approach Stephen A. and say, listen, we about to get out of here. You with us or no? Stephen A. and Jason would be like, well, I mean,
we got a good house here.
We rebelled against, because Master Street, we pretty good. They treat us pretty good. So what y'all talking about? So I feel like it reveals, like, you know what? I'm actually proud of Stephen A. and successful Black people who are making millions of dollars a year, even though Stephen A. ain't making the millions that his white counterparts are making, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually proud of them, but I don't think that we should ignore them. If you can't, like, they're a lost cause, because the pressure that has been applied to our people through oppression has revealed their true characters. They say, you know what, we made it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We in the house. We got our millions. We made it. And instead of them using that success to then turn around and help others, and to use help others that look like them, and to use their platform for the betterment of their own people, they decided, you know what? I'm in the house. I'm cozy. I'm comfortable. And I don't want to rebel with you N-words. So I feel like we do not need to ignore them. We need to put them in the same basket with white oppressors and destroy them.
Wow.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
All right. Well. What do we do about these folks? That is the question, ladies and gentlemen. What we gonna do about them? And one person said ignore them. Another person said we need to destroy them. 413 736 2781. And let me tell you, we know the card carrying Klan member, the Confederate flag wavers, and the hardcore conservatives that are out front and unashamed about their overt bigotry. But we also got, and don't get it twisted, you also have the self-proclaimed liberals that will be standing right next to you at a Black Lives Matter protest. It's important that we not be fooled by the appearance and the performative actions of the apologists, because the apologists basically dismisses the feelings of Black people. They decide if micro or macro aggressions should be perceived as offensive. If they're not offensive to them, they shouldn't be offensive to you. They will use negative stereotypes of Black people to justify racist hate by white folks. And so don't think that this thing has a Democratic, we'll put it this way, a political party aligned with it. That racism and bigotry is a Republican thing or a Democrat thing. It's a white thing. Okay? And we got some Black folks caught up in supporting it. So when we talk about these sycophantic apologists, it's not just those that side with conservatives, because that's what we often think of. We think about the Candace Owenses, what the caller just talked about, the Jason Whitlocks. We think about the Thomas Sowells, the Paris Denards, the Larry Elders, all of those folk that align themselves with conservative Republicans. But we got a lot of sycophantic apologists who align themselves with Democrats. All right. And will put their cape on and come flying to the rescue of Democratic bigotry just as quick as the apologists that align themselves with conservatives. They're all dangerous. Okay? They're all dangerous. And so while the white supremacist is regarded as the number one enemy of racial justice movements, the white supremacy apologists can be even more dangerous. All right. The difference is the white supremacist stands in clear view, making no apologies for their blatant racism. But contrarily, the apologists can be disguised as an ally or one of us, a free thinker. Don't be mad at them just because they think differently. A free thinker, as it what we're bound thinkers. I mean, I don't get it. And the apologist stands in the way of justice being served. Their actions and inactions work behind the scenes to destroy our efforts in dismantling white supremacy. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, because I'm almost out of time. It was a House oversight and joint committee hearing that was being held, and Candace Owens testified that white supremacy would not make her list of the top 100 issues facing America. And she went on to say that based on the hierarchy of what's impacting our community, white supremacy would not be on it. Now she was on the Hill testifying before Congress, and was supposed to be an expert witness, I guess. I guess it's an expert witness. Um, but this is what they do. They bring black people that will agree with white supremacy. Um, they 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 prop them up. They put them out there, and they say, "See, here's a black person telling you that white supremacy is not a problem." And people like Candace may be at the top of the list of these well compensated go-to backslapping adulators that are called upon to do master's bidding by basically erasing the history of anti-black bigotry and oppression and placing the plight of the black community really squarely on the shoulders of black people themselves. Blaming it on fatherless homes, so-called black on black crime, high levels of abortion, yada yada yada, and explaining away the extrajudicial murder of black people, racial profiling, the disparate treatment of black people in the criminal justice system, the wage and education gaps. They explain away the health disparities and all the other factors that affirm that racism is alive and well and pervasive in America. And we have black people of all ilk that do this kind of thing. And here's the thing you guys need to understand. You were keenly in tune to it while Trump was in office. You were keenly in tune to the Candace Owenses and the Paris Denards and the Larry Elders and everybody else that decided that they were going to line themselves up with the white power structure. But now you're oblivious to it for those who do the same thing for the Democrats that are in power. And I've used this example over and over again, and I'll keep using it because it's one of the most poignant ones that I can think of. When Trump's administration was locking kids in cages at the border and deporting Haitians by the droves, y'all jumped up and down and yelled and screamed, racism, 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 racism. Kids in cages, kids in cages, kids in cages. Deporting Haitians, deporting Haitians, deporting Haitians, deporting Haitians. Biden's administration is still locking kids in cages and have deported 5 times as many Haitians in his first year than Trump did in all 4 years. But y'all ain't jumping up and down saying racism, 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 racism. And then all of the Democrat shills, those who think that the best case scenario for black people is that Democrats stay in office, they make excuses for them. And my thing is, if we were going to condemn the sycophantic black people that made excuses for racism under a Republican administration, then we need to condemn these shills that make excuses for racism in a Democrat administration. Because racism is racism. If it was racist for Trump to deport 6,500 Haitians in 4 years, how is it not racist for Biden to deport 30,000 in 1 year? Y'all help answer that question for me. If it was racist for Trump's administration to pump money into police departments that had no accountability, how is it not racist for Biden to propose spending $13 billion, billion with a B, to put 100,000 new cops on the streets. 100,000 new cops on the streets with no accountability measures. It can't be racist for the Republicans and not racist for the Democrats to do it at a higher clip than the Republicans did it. So there's still apologists out there on both sides of the aisle, y'all. Come on now. Come on. All right, listen. I got to transition off the spoken word. I got to see how this is going to work, jumping into justice and flow. Now that I'm back in the studio, but we're going to see how it works. We're going to make it work. Those of you who are on social media, stay with us. Don't you dare go nowhere. Once again, for those of you that are in the 4, the 1, and the 3, this Thursday at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, we will be holding a ARPA small business workshop. If you have a small business, a nonprofit, if you're trying to start a business, you need to be there. It's at 6 p.m., starting promptly. Get there earlier than 6 p.m., but starting promptly at 6 p.m., 35 Alden Street, sponsored by the Greater Springfield NAACP, at 6 p.m. at the Spring of Hope Church, 35 Alden Street, this coming Thursday. And once again, congratulations out to all of the elected officers of the NAACP. The elections were held November 29th. Yours truly is the president. Reverend Mark Bayman is the first vice president. Angela Thorpe, second vice president. Reverend Sam Saylor, third vice president. Carolyn Roberson, treasurer. Frida Malone, secretary. Kathy Swanson, assistant secretary. Ayana Crawford, executive committee member, elected executive committee member. Congratulations out to all of you. Our officers swearing in will take place at City Hall in January. So stay tuned and stay close for that. Next week, I'm going to begin announcements about the Lift Every Voice lecture series for this year. Don't go nowhere. Those of you on social media, I'll be back. Those of you in the Pioneer Valley, stay tuned for Mid-Morning Jazz. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you. So do I.
Me a tune the other day, and people think that's a thing.
Okay, I don't know how this gonna work.
I don't either, but that's not the man cave. I don't see the man cave. I thought you was gonna put on your Superman cape and fly back to the man cave.
No, we wouldn't be having no show if I had to do all that. So, y'all, this is the first time. First time for everything, but first time on a Monday outside of the man cave in 2.5 years, and trying to shuffle between inside the studio and coming out of the studio to try to get see if I can do the after show. And so we're giving it a shot. And here we is. Here we be.
Here we is. So how are all the accounts holding up? All the social media accounts. I mean, anybody shut you down today?
Twitter was playing games with my space. Let me get my headphones on. See if I can place I'm in. All right, there we go.
Do you need to close the door behind you?
No, I'm in an open space. That's actually a bathroom door. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everybody. I don't know how many people stayed with us. Let me hear from you. If you out there, you were able to stay with us.
Oh. Hey, I don't know what's going on. Hold on. All right, I need to do that. I don't know how that started playing. But you know, Facebook be playing games, man. You play 2 minutes of commercial music and then they be shutting my whole stream down.
Oh, good morning, Angela, Sissy. Congratulations on being elected second vice president. You're moving on up. Good morning, everybody. Who else is out there? Anybody else hanging with us this morning? Justice and Flow. I got a couple of things I want to bring up. We had a good, I believe, a good after show conversation on last week, and I believe it was Brother Mike Martin, I believe, if I remember correctly, who was certainly lending us a lot of good commentary. I don't know if Mother Ford is out there today. Brenda Ford from Atlanta, she hangs in with us, just about every Monday morning. Who else is out there besides Angela? Hey, Mike. Yeah, Mike is here, Bishop. Mike is here. I got a couple of things. Hi, Juanita. Sister Beeman is in the house. So good to hear from y'all. See y'all. I feel like I see you. I feel like I see you when I hear from you. I got a couple of things I feel like we need to hit on today because of, what's been happening. It seems like something is re-triggering, just about every day. and I know it just be an hour show, and then the after show, especially with the technology and the, everything being rearranged and reorganized, we don't have the kind of time that we typically have. But nevertheless, I wanted to bring up a couple of things that happened on this week, and I definitely want to hear from the listeners on it, and I want to get your perspective on it as well. Bishop, are you still there? Did I lose you? See, I don't even know if the technology, but hey, everybody. Okay, so I'll do it this way because I don't know what's going on with the technology. Like I said, please bear with us, be patient with us as we reconfigure things and and get things together to where we can continue to bring you Justice and Flow, the after show on Monday mornings. Anyway, y'all. So much on my heart. So much on my heart. I'm really still, I think, digesting some of what we were talking about on last week. But we don't have a long time to process things, these days, right? We don't have a long time to process things because it's on to the next. It's on to the next. And I ain't talking about in a 24-hour lifespan either. I'm talking about in a 24-minute lifespan because something is always popping off. Something is always going down. But I want to bring up the LeBron James interview with the media. Listen, I don't watch basketball. I used to, and believe it or not, I even used to be a basketball player when I was in school, in middle school and high school. And I played center. Believe that too? Can you believe that too? Yeah. But but anyway, I used to be big time, watching basketball in the 80s and 90s, or whatever the case may be. Now I'm older or whatever, and got involved in some other things. So I don't watch basketball like I used to, but nevertheless, I know some things, and I certainly know of some basketball stars, and certainly LeBron James would be that guy today, right? So that interview last week with him, and him calling out the media like he did, mainstream media, that was a black man boss move, and I am so proud of him. I wanted to bring it up though because I've been also listening to some reactions from other people like the Roland Martins of the world and the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, so on and so forth, concerning LeBron James calling out the media. And if y'all didn't hear it, please research it, go and look it up. But essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, essentially what he did was he waited for them to interview him like they usually do after a game and so on and so forth. And he basically said, wait a minute. I sat here and I answered your questions, and this and the other. But I'm surprised, when the whole Kyrie Irving thing went down, everybody was asking me about that, whatever. Then one of the reporters tried to chime in, and he said, no, I don't want to hear from you now. He shut him down, So he was like, no, I don't want. As a matter of fact, no, forget it now. Be quiet now. And so he basically went on to say that why is it that the same smoke is not coming for Jerry Jones? Oh, I forgot his name. Is it Jerry Jones? For Jerry Jones, that you gave me for Kyrie Irving, of black people and so on and so forth, and my people, we've been through some stuff, whatever. And when we say one thing, y'all take it and y'all run with it in another way, and so on and so forth. But what he did say was that, I'm a black man and I have power and I have a platform, and I think it's important for me to use it in the right way, basically for me to speak up for my people. Now, all good, made me very emotional to see this black man stand in his truth in that way, and to also take the, use the courage that was necessary to confront mainstream media in that way. My problem is when I was listening to Roland Martin commentate on that, along with Stephen A. Smith, and I forget the white lady on some show. Like I said, I don't watch sports, so it was some sports show. Roland said something that I wanted to have a conversation about today. So Roland said, I disagree. He said, I agree with what LeBron did, in other words, calling out the media. Because according to Stephen A. Smith and according to Roland, he called out the media, not Jerry Jones. Not so sure, if that's necessarily the case, but that's their perspective. Okay, that's fine. But I had a problem with Roland then coming back saying that he disagrees. Yeah, Roland. Yes, Roland, Angela. Roland said, I disagree with LeBron saying, and this hurt me. I'm still trying to process it. Roland said, I disagree with LeBron saying that he has power and a platform. He said he may have influence and leverage. He said Jerry Jones has power. LeBron has influence. I had a problem with that. I want to have a discussion about that. Yes, that got me disturbed. That whole response and opinion coming from a black man who's supposed to be, elevating us, right? Who's supposed to be elevating us, diminishing how this black man described himself. He said, I have power and I have a platform. And for Roland to come back and say he disagrees with LeBron having power, that he has influence and leverage, but he does not have power, that this white man has power, but this black man does not. I got a problem. I got a problem with somebody who's supposed to be more aware and have a better understanding. See, it's these little things like that can really, cripple and cause more confusion in our fight, right, for freedom and justice. But, so like I said, so that came up. Let me add a little make a connection here. I think Bishop is in travels, y'all. So y'all again bear with us, with this technology thing, and me having a conversation alone. So something else, happened. And I got wind of it, and I'm trying to process it along with this whole thing of a black man telling another black man who described himself or defined himself as having power and having a platform. And then another black man gonna come behind him and say that he doesn't, but then lift up the white man that you say is a racist and say that he has power, but this black man does not have power. Listen, I'm really upset about that whole display. So I'm making this connection. Try to follow me, y'all. Try to follow me, because I'm trying to process this too. So Will Smith is back on the scene, and I don't know if y'all know, but a movie called Emancipation, which Will Smith is starring in, hit the movie theaters this past weekend. Now, here is how Emancipation is somewhat connected to this whole conversation about black men having power and a platform, and and certainly using it for the whole community or for his whole race of people, as opposed to just for himself, or whatever. And then, like I said, another black man who wants power and influence, diminishing, how he defined himself, or redefining this man who does not need to be redefined. So this movie This movie, of course, Will Smith is starring in. Um, there is first of all, his daughter came to him while he was thinking about, doing the movie, which was some years ago, some years back, before the whole infamous slap and all of that good stuff. But anyway, his daughter approached him and said, "Dad, do we really need?" And I'm assuming when she said "we," she's talking about black people. I'm assuming, right? Do we really need another slave movie? So y'all know that conversation is out there about slave movies, and I guess another slave movie depicting that as the history of black people and so on and so forth. And so Will gave her an answer that intrigued me. So Will said to her, "Baby, I promise you, Daddy will never make a slave movie. This is a freedom movie." So that intrigued me. All right. And so then when I found out who the movie was about, and please forgive me, y'all, I'm forgetting the name, but the name of the movie is Emancipation. And y'all know that portrait of the black man. Now we know he was free. But it's a portrait of black man in his back, and all of the scars on his back that look like trees. All of the scars on his back. As a matter of fact, I have the portrait, and I typically show it every day during Black History Month, because it's like my mantra to say this is why I fight for freedom and liberation, because my ancestors' backs look like that, or whatever. So I honor them. So, but anyway, long story short, there's a line in the movie where the guy's having a conversation with somebody else. And if I'm not mistaken, he was having a conversation with another recently, enslaved individual who, was in a better condition. And what I mean by a better condition, he was, I think he had his own land, or maybe he had some land that he was working, and, maybe had a home, and, and all of that good stuff. And so they were in a conversation, and the other guy said to him, he was like, "Well, they allow me to farm this land. They allow me to live here. They allow me to, whatever." And so the main character, or the star of the movie, he looks at him and he says, "Well, if they allow you to, are you really free?" Now, to me, those two things connect together. LeBron saying, "I am a powerful black man. I have power. I have a platform, and I need to use it in this way to elevate my people." And an enslaved or recently enslaved individual, because they have been set free, but they were still in bondage. Of course, we understand that history. So they have been set free and still in bondage. And so him defining what it means, to really be free. And to me, when I hear power, especially when I hear a black man say, "I have power," that's that black man saying, "I have freedom. I have freedom." So I get really offended for another black man to come up to him and to say he doesn't have power. He doesn't have freedom. Maybe you don't have freedom, because you rather be enslaved. You rather continue to go, and live, like you are. And so just like this man said to him, who said to this guy in the movie, who it appeared that he was living better, because he had his own home, he had, and this, that, and the other, but he had to get permission to. He had to get permission to. Or whatever. And so the guy basically confronted him. The character basically confronted him. Are you really free if they have to allow you, if you got to get permission? And so I'm saying to myself, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. LeBron didn't go get nobody's permission to confront the media. He said what he wanted to say. He confronted them, or whatever, because in his mind, and I believe it, and I agree, and I support it, he's a free black man with power and with a platform, and he's gonna use it. And he's gonna use it in the right way. So am I crazy, y'all? Was Roland just out of line? I'm like, what is wrong with Roland? And he thinking that, he really on this show thinking that he is, I don't know. I don't know what he thought, because Stephen A even called him an activist, and, they complimenting each other like, they all of this in our community and so on and so forth. And I'm like, oh my God, this is really sophisticated, y'all. This is really, really, really sophisticated. And we need to be careful. We also need to be careful about who we support, right? And so, like Bishop was talking about a little bit earlier in his show, and he was talking about, I kind of don't like to use the same terms that Bishop used, but in this case, I guess I need to. But, kind of the coons of the world, right? And a lot of times coons look like us. A lot of times they have the same melanated, skin that we do. A lot of times they in our family. And so I'm like the caller. Tiffany, she called in. And I'm like the caller. I disagree that you ignore that. I don't think you ignore it. I do think that we have to decide, though, who deserves to be called out and corrected and taught better and educated, because there's so much miseducation going on. It's infuriating. There's so much miseducation going on, and we can't allow those untruths to be the narrative, especially passed down to our children. So that's what makes me very upset. But also, I think that we need to decide, who do we call in? There's a group of people that are out there that have been misled, that have been miseducated, that have been misguided, or maybe no guidance at all. And guess what? They deserve an opportunity to be called in. In other words, there are some folks you call out and you discard, because they not in this for freedom. They in this for some money. Maybe. And maybe they good, with their I don't know, with their bank account and their little home with their white picket fence, but they don't want nobody else to have a home and a white picket fence, or whatever. Maybe they good with their life insurance and their health insurance, or whatever, but they ain't looking out for everybody else, So those people we do need to ignore and discard, and I don't believe that in all cases, those that were, rallying up to meet and come up with a plan to escape and to get to freedom, I don't believe that they went to everybody else. I don't believe they went to everybody else. Look, it's what we getting ready to do. I think they knew not to go to. I think they knew who not to go to, because they knew that they was just gonna go to Massa and tell Massa that we getting ready to run, or whatever the case may be. So I think that some of them, they was like, no, we gotta leave them behind. Because if we tell them, we all gonna die. if we tell them, we all gonna die. But if we just stick together with us, some of us gonna make it. Some of us gonna get out of here. Or whatever the case may be. So, we got to decide who is worthy of our calling out and who is definitely worthy of our calling in. But I disagree with the ignoring. We cannot ignore because our truth is on the line. Our truth is on the line. So anytime you're exposed to an injustice, anytime you're exposed to miseducation or a lie, and you know the truth, you have a duty. You have a duty to tell the truth, to expose the truth, to correct. You have a duty to correct. When it comes to our history, when it comes to our story, when it comes to our narrative, because what we don't want to have is another generation of coons. That's what we don't want to have. Another generation of coons. I don't know, Bishop, if you was able to hear anything. I was just trying to hold the
Yeah,
conversation until
I
you got.
wasn't able to hear while I was in the car for some reason.
Okay.
I could see it, but I couldn't hear anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I kind of brought up a couple of different things. I was talking to the audience or the listeners about how upset I was with Roland Martin's response to LeBron James.
Ain't surprising nothing roly poly.
Right. I was very upset. Well, I'm just gonna give it to you in short. I'm not sure if you know, but I watched the interview with Stephen A. Smith, some white lady, I don't know her name, and Roland Martin, and they were responding to what LeBron James said. And Roland Martin said that he disagrees with LeBron James. Hold up. With LeBron James saying that he has power and a platform. He said he has influence and leverage, but Jerry Jones has power. LeBron does not have power. That got me, all in my feelings. It got me very upset. I'm like, look at this black man. Now he's supposed to be more aware than that. So I'm very upset that Roland Martin didn't know any better than that.
Well, here's the thing, and I know, and I get it. People who have watched Roland through the years have perceived him when he was on CNN, when he was on TV One, perceived him for being a black man that was advancing the cause of black people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Roland is the opposite side of the fence from the Candace Owenses of the world, in my estimation. Candace Owens and Larry Elders and the others that I mentioned before are those who are sycophants on the side of conservative Republican white folks and will cape for them against the best interests of black people. I see Roland as the opposite side, as the black man who will cape for Democrats, including democratic bigotry, against the best interests of black people. That's how I've come to see Roland and some others, and it's more difficult to really track because we are so adamantly against the bigotry of the right because it's so overt and in your face that we miss the subtleties of the bigotry on the left.
I don't.
And then we miss those black people who protect the bigotry that's on the left. And listen, Roland puts on his cape and comes to the rescue of white folks on the left against black people all the time. If you watch him, his commentary, he's calling black people all kinds of fools and idiots, and you don't read, and you don't do this, and you don't do that, and so on. Anytime we have any level of criticism against democratic bigotry, they can depend on Roland to come against black people to protect them. So to me, like what Mike Martin said, he's just as much as a sellout to me as a Candace Owens
right.
and those.
And I'm like everybody else, you know, I'm kind of rolling through some of the no pun intended, but some of the comments being made. My husband knows this. When Martin was on, when Roland was on TV1, I was a big time avid watcher. I'm sorry. I was big time, you know, I got up early in the morning to make sure that I caught his show, you know, every bit of it. Cause you know, I just was banking on it. I was banking on it just like I've been doing for years with Sirius XM, the Urban View. I've been doing that for years, you know, listening to the Black Eagle, listening to Karen Hunter, and now I'm listening to Clay Kane, and I love Heather B. You know, she's not really politically commentating on her show, but you know, and I also listen to Larry Daniels, so I listen to all of them. But and I listen to Roland Martin in that way too. But this, you know, the last few years, and I used to think that my husband was being a little bit too hard on Roland. I really used to think that my husband was being a little bit too hard on Roland, but I did start to watch and observe and listen. I think a little bit better and closer. But this was the eye opener for me. This really let me know. Hold up, wait a minute, bruh. You know, if you really totally support, you know, what he did, you know, and bravo to what LeBron did, why you gonna come back and diminish how he defined himself? Like, what other black man? I don't know any other black man that did that got a platform like a Roland, right? Like a Roland Martin. And so why would you say I disagree? That's the way that man defined himself. He said, I have power and I have a platform, and this is the way that I'm choosing to use it. And then you gonna come back and say, I disagree. That was his exact statement. I disagree with him saying that he has power. Jerry Jones has power. You know, and then, you know, he made it all political. And that upset me too. For him to say that this white man has power, but this black man don't. I was like, oh my God, the message in that. You know, the message in that. And I was like, I don't understand why he don't get, or why he didn't get. Or
Jerry Jones has privilege.
Thank you.
And power comes with privilege. So let me just kind of give you a couple of examples. And I see Angela saying, wow, you know, here in my commentary. You know, I talked about earlier a couple months ago how this administration was giving something to everybody except black people. You know, hate crime bills to the Asians and Pacific Islanders, executive order protecting the LGBTQ, monies for DACA and immigrants, literally $50 billion to Ukrainians, $4 billion to Israel, billions of dollars to resettle Afghan refugees. I mean, they were throwing out resources and stuff to everybody except black people. Do you know what happened when I put that narrative out? Shannon Sharp, who's not one of my favorite people, but Shannon agreed with me, and Shannon, you know, was speaking in agreement. Roland Martin comes in and responds to Shannon Sharp's agreement with me, except he's lying. You know, he basically called me a liar. So I challenged Roland. Show me where I'm lying. Show me where one thing I said.
Well, just show me the lie.
it was a lie.
Mhm.
And of course he couldn't. Another time, I talked about the resolution on anti-Semitism, um, and all of that. And of course, Roland comes back once again to defend the Democrats, and he says, "Well, the anti-Semitism bill, you didn't provide the facts. It passed after the domestic terrorism bill, which did pass after the Buffalo shooting, and Jamal Bowman introduced it in response to Buffalo, which was a lie." I said, first of all, Roland, the domestic terrorism bill did not pass, and it's not an anti-black hate crime bill, and that the Senate failed to advance the bill just the day before he tweeted it. And then I told him he was lying about Congressman Bowman. The irony of that was Congressman Bowman came on to my show that Monday and said he was working on an anti-black hate crime bill. So I'm like, how are you going to say Congressman Bowman introduced a bill that passed and he hasn't even introduced it yet? So it's like, not only will you put on your Superman cape to protect Democrats, you'll lie for them. So I've come to understand that Roland is Democrat first, Democrat second, Democrat third, and black fourth.
Yeah. Yeah, and this can be very complicated, with all of the political, spiritual, mental, all of the threads, intertwined in the way that they are. But but how does that make you feel as a black man? I mean, I know how it made me feel to hear to hear that to hear him make that comment concerning the response that LeBron had, at that interview. How does that make you feel that a Roland Martin, a black man, with the platform, with a media stream that he's developed, and we were always proud of him with that. But how does that make you feel that he thought that was appropriate for him to redefine how this man defined himself?
Okay, two things. I'm gonna get to that. One, there were some who were proud of him. I never was, in terms of the thing he's developed in terms of Roland Martin Unfiltered.
I mean the media.
In terms of that, because
Media
I had a different backdrop. I understood that the reason he had to create Roland Martin Unfiltered was because he couldn't do anything on a larger network. He got dismissed from CNN. He got dismissed from TV One. For unethical reasons, leaking the questions to the Hillary Clinton debate to Donna Brazile. He gets fired from TV One. She gets fired from CNN, which means no other network would take him. So he had to create something if he was going to try to remain relevant. So he's on YouTube. So I don't really call. I don't call.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't call falling down to YouTube from major television network. And
I'm just saying, I do. I was proud of the fact that he didn't give up, that he managed to create something.
I get it. And which was also one of the reasons why he went so hard for Tiffany Cross when she got fired from MSNBC, because she was the only one on major television network that would let Roland come on. If you all remember, there was a big debate between CNN and the National Association for Black Journalists. My sister was a member of the NABJ for years. And NABJ, they were trying to say CNN is locking out NABJ. And CNN said, no, we work with NABJ all the time. We just will not work with NABJ as long as they have Roland Martin as one of their representatives.
Mm.
So anyway, but see, if you're going to say LeBron has no power, but you don't provide context, that
No, he
makes
said LeBron. He said more, but
okay.
he
Well,
basically
no,
said
no,
LeBron
but this
has
is what
no
I'm saying.
power, but the Jerry Jones does.
This is what I'm saying. If you don't provide proper context, if you don't say, in my estimation, LeBron doesn't have power because of the American system of white supremacy that relegates even black people of tremendous influence, fame, and notoriety, and props up white men of privilege, even those who don't have the same level of notoriety as black people. If you don't provide that context, you're doing a disservice. But just to summarily say,
He did try to provide a context.
well,
I got a problem with
well,
anybody
let me
going
finish.
in. Wait
Let
a
me
minute,
just
baby.
let me
I
just
got
finish
a
where I'm going with this is because he's wrong from this standpoint. Power means the ability to achieve purpose. LeBron, when it comes to that, has tremendous power in terms of having the ability to use his platform. Right now, if you look at what the moves LeBron has made in his career, LeBron can say the word and coach get fired. LeBron can say the word and the team will bring two other members from somewhere else in the NBA onto that team and sign contracts because LeBron said so. LeBron had enough power to start that school in Ohio. Um, um, and LeBron has proven that he has been able to use his money, his influence, to exact a certain level of power to accomplish some things. So that was short sighted at best for him to say he has no power. But it was also an acknowledgement that he has a respect, more of a respect for the white power structure than he does for black people of excellence who can use their bully pulpit to exact power. You know, that's my problem.
The second part of what you said, I'm in total alignment with, because I totally agree with that's what he did. He acknowledged that. But I have a big time problem with anybody trying to come back and redefine somebody who defined themselves in such a way. Just like, with me, if I define myself as a strong, I don't know, opinionated or whatever kind of a woman, and for somebody to come back and say, oh, you're not strong and you're not this and you're not that, and so on and so forth, especially if it's supposed to be one of my own, I'm gonna have a problem with that. And so that's the main reason why I was extremely offended. And it's like, dude, you cooning. Whether you know it or not, you're cooning. You're cooning. You're doing exactly, you're doing exactly what they need you to do, as far as like lifting up white supremacy. Because not only did he say LeBron has no power, then he came back and quickly said, Jerry does. It's this white man owner and da 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 blah 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 blah. He has power, but this black man does not. And I mean, I'm thinking about the message that sends to people overall. So here I am, Cynthia, 55 years old. I don't have the money that neither one of them have. I don't have the money that LeBron has. I don't have the money that Jerry has. I don't play basketball. I don't, I can't, call and get somebody fired. I don't have the resources to put up a school. I can't, I don't have the resources to, but you mean to tell me that I don't have power? And if I define myself as powerful, or whatever, or having a platform, and also having power, and I also have leverage in certain instances, and I also have privilege in certain instances, and I also have influence in certain instances, or whatever the case may be. So, who are you or anybody else to come back and redefine how I define myself? Who are you?
Well, LeBron certainly got more power than Roland.
Absolutely do. Absolutely do.
That's for sure.
Who are you? Who are you? Or whatever. So, I mean, this really is an example of calling out, calling in. I know we only have a few minutes left, but I had also brought up the movie. Will Smith movie was released over the weekend. It's going to be shown on or available, I believe, on Prime Video starting the 11th or something like that, on the 11th, something like that. But it's going to be in theaters for a week, and then you'll be able to purchase it or rent it, I believe, on Prime Video. But anyway, the movie is called Emancipation. And so I was telling the people about a conversation that Will Smith had with his daughter. She didn't want him to make another slave movie, and he had this conversation with her, and he said that he promised her that he would not be making a slave movie, that this was a freedom movie. And so anyway, he described the movie, and there was a scene in the movie where he was having a conversation with another guy, and this guy was, his living situation was much better off than his. And so he was like, yeah, so they allow me to farm this land. They allow me to live here. They allow me to do this. They allow. And so he said to him, the question was, well, if they allow you, are you really free? If they have to allow you, are you really free? So that was that touched me. And as a Black woman living in this country, it made me think about so many different aspects of this fight of freedom and liberation. And I'm like most of us who I'm not begging the government. I'm not, I have no interest in begging and pleading and saying, you need to give us and you need to allow us and da 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 da. And I believe that's the reason why I was triggered by this. LeBron doesn't have power, because I don't believe that. I believe each and every one of us have power. Those of us who want us all to be free, So I believe that we all have power. We have the right kind of power. With that being said, I'm thinking about the Democrats, and I'm thinking about where we are. I just kind of want to end with one of these questions. Where are we? Where are we in terms of the Democratic Party? And we kind of know what that is. But Black folks being fed up, those of us who are still here, and still, aiming for freedom, real freedom. And we're not begging, we're just aiming for the right thing. Where are we in terms of, this fight and the Democrats? Like, what are they responding to us being fed up at all? Or are they ignoring us? Or are they ignoring us?
I think they dodged the bullet in terms of most people thought this midterm election would have been far worse for them than it was because of their apathy toward the concerns of Black people, and Black voters that were disaffected by that they would have had far more losses than they had. I chalk that up to people being just as leery of and disaffected by far right conservatism, that they did not lose more House seats. They did lose the House, but not by much. They thought they would lose the House by a far wider margin. They kept the Senate by a very slim margin. So the government will now be divided with a Republican-controlled House, a Democrat-controlled Senate, and basically nothing will get done for the next 2 years of Biden's administration, which will set the stage for a showdown in 24 for whoever the Republican nominee is to be able to say you didn't do nothing over the last 2 years. But when he had a Democrat House and Senate for the last 2 years, we cannot point to anything substantive that was done for the demographic that gave them that control. Everything that was done for us was symbolic.
Yeah.
We were already celebrating Juneteenth. We didn't need it as a federal holiday.
And they didn't have nothing to do with that.
You know, the anti-lynching bill covered everybody, and making lynching a federal crime 67 years after Black people started the process when Emmett Till was murdered was a slap in the face. But it's still
offensive. It's still offensive.
All of the substantive things that we look to have done, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, the John Lewis voting reform, of putting teeth back into the 65 Voting Rights Act, doing police reform that would deal with qualified immunity and put other measures in place. None of that stuff happened. As a matter of fact, the president changed his whole tune. Remember, 6 months after he was elected, less than 6 months after he was elected, at a joint session of Congress, he talked about the need for police reform. He propped up Eric Garner's daughter and talked about those things. 10 months later, he stuck his finger out and saw which way the political winds were blowing. 10 months later, he said in his State of the Union address, we don't need to defund the police. We need to fund the police. All of a sudden, he was talking about funding the police. Then he said, take some of that COVID money that we sent to your cities and towns, give that to the police. Then he said, I'm going to propose giving another $13 billion to put 100,000 cops on the streets and doing more for the police and so on and so forth. So he turned back into the Jim Crow Joe Biden of the 1994 crime bill. If you notice the parallels, 94 crime bill, 100,000 new police. His proposed bill now, 100,000 new police. So this is crime bill 2.0. So basically he said, you know what? To hell with what I promised Black people. I know I said I'll have your back, but I'm going to do what Joe Biden does. And I'm going to do what feels good to me. And I'm going to do what appeals to the conservatives that I want to get on my side and work across the aisle for. And so there's really no commitment to Black folk. And the Democrats keep telling us, give us more people so we can increase our numbers and have a higher majority, and then we'll do something for you. Nobody else has that threshold. Asians don't have to, they don't vote for Democrats in the 90 percentile like we do. And they don't have to beg them for anything. Jewish folk don't vote for them in the 90 percentile. They don't have to beg them for anything. Latinos, okay, 44% of them don't vote for the Democrats. 44%. They only vote in the low 60s We vote 30% above their community
Depending on
for
where
them.
they
They
depending on
don't have to beg. They don't have to beg. Native Americans don't have to beg. They don't have to kick the can down the road and wait and wait and wait and wait. But black people always have to wait to the next election, to the next election. Give us more, give us more, give us. And then their strategy is always this is the most important election in history. And you don't want to let the Republicans get in power. If you think it's bad now, it's going to be worse if the Republicans get in power. If you, they not going, and in the words of Roland Martin, um, Republicans ain't going to give you sugar honey iced tea. So that's his rationale for vote Democrat.
Yeah.
Not because the Democrats are doing anything for you or your life is better because they've been in power. It's just the Republicans ain't gonna give you sugar honey iced tea.
Right.
That's no longer a good enough reason for smart voters and for younger voters to continue to give them our votes unequivocally.
Right. At the end of the day, neither party is giving us anything. And it's not about giving us anything. It's about doing right by us like everybody else, you know. So it's not that you're giving us anything or we're begging for anything. Just do right by us like everybody else. Do the systems, well, we deserve to be done right just like everybody else. Basically, we just deserve to be done right, and then we deserve reparations. You know, we absolutely deserve reparations, but I know that that's another conversation, but that's a conversation that should be on the table. You know, it should certainly be on the table. um and I mean, I just don't understand. I just don't understand. It's a very difficult situation for us to be in, because it's like we want to be responsible, we want to be civically responsible, we certainly, you know, want to do what we're supposed to be doing, but it's like we're really stuck between a rock and a hard place right now trying to make these decisions.
Yeah.
But I will say this, that it's a much easier decision to make on a local level. Like, I mean, definitely, definitely get involved in what's going on in your cities, your towns. Know, you know, produce, cultivate, you know, the leaders that you want to get in office, and certainly represent your city, your town, your district, your ward, you know, whatever it is. So definitely stay like 1,000% involved in that way. Vote, again, support, cultivate, make the sacrifices necessary, you know, to make sure that black folks, you know, where you live are certainly being done right, and things are being done right there. I think nationally it's just going to be more complicated. I don't know if we're going to live to see change, Bishop. I don't know if we're going to live to see it, but I do know that we, you know, like we're committed to our people, and we definitely want to do whatever part that we need to on a national level. But listen, y'all, everybody stay encouraged. I did want to bring that up too. I know we gotta go. It's after 11 o'clock, but I think this is really important. So, I think everybody knows that's been listening to us for, you know, any time, that I'm a licensed mental health counselor. And oftentimes I get a little worried about my husband and worried about um, people like my husband, some of you even. I think about you often and I pray about us, you know, often. So I understand that, you know, this fight for freedom and liberation, this understanding, this education, this spirit of freedom and liberation, it can be hard, taxing on our bodies and on our minds, on our spirits, on our livelihood. Just, you know, it hits every area of our being. And so with that being said, listen, it's very important for us to take care of ourselves. Um, and not only take care of ourselves, but to try to find the joy even in some of the pain, if you will, right? Um, and try to find some appreciation. Um, try to put yourself in a position to where you're not always on 10, you're not always offended, you're not always, you know, feeling the need to serve up justice. I know that's a hard task. I know that that's hard, when we are done so wrong and we live in such an oppressive country and society. So every system is against us, every institution is against us, I get it. But you get one life to live. And because you get one life to live, you got to find some peace and some joy in it. So I want to encourage you to please practice safe care. How do you practice good safe care? You have to set boundaries. You have to set healthy boundaries. That's the best way to practice um, good self-care. Good self-care. Not necessarily going to get your nails done, sisters, or maybe going to get a drink, brothers, or whatever you do to relax and kick back, but to set some healthy boundaries. So sometimes you have to say, let me step back, from the fight, if you will, and let me enjoy my family. Let me enjoy my spouse. Let me enjoy my grandchildren. Let me just go check on my mother. Let me go check on my dad. Let me go check on my uncle. Let me go check on my auntie and just kick back and, and bring them something to eat and watch a movie with them or whatever the case may be. Relax. Relax sometimes. Chill sometimes. Netflix and chill. Just, practice some good self-care. Don't always be on 10. I'm telling you, high blood pressure is real and it will kill you. So, just learn how to relax, learn how to practice some good self care. So, I just wanted to encourage all of us. I'm preaching to the choir. I'm preaching to the choir. I just want all of us to, sit back, sometimes and relax and just try to take in, just breathe a little bit, get you some sun, some sun, and of course, we believe get you some SON sun too. It's always a little bit of Jesus will help. But
we believe in getting you some SOME.
Anyway, so but learn how to chill, learn how to relax, learn how to laugh again. Learn how to laugh again. When is the last time you laughed? You had a real good laugh. You thought something was really funny, or you found the humor in it. If you can laugh at yourself, you're in a good space. So, just make sure that you're balancing out, y'all. Balance out. All right.
So I was relaxing just now.
I love y'all. I love y'all. Just wanted to make sure that I threw that out there today. It was on my heart and on my mind. So thank you for listening. I hope y'all have a
All right, peoples. We out of here. We're going to see how this goes. You might have to hold down the first 15 minutes until I can get from the radio station to my office over here to make it work. But we'll figure it out one way or another. All right, y'all. Until the next time. Deuces.